On August 2nd, 2023, a world known as the Moonlight House was born. From a cube that started out in Unity to a VRChat world that was uploaded on August 2nd, 2023, it was a very long journey. But it all started with a single shape, a cube inside of Unity. Today, we're going to be starting a series where we go from this small, humble cube into this wonderful world of Moonlight House, or your own world, whatever you want to call it. This is RetroYuuki's Unity tutorials, and we're getting started in this series learning about Unity. But before we do that, we need a couple of things. We need to understand a couple of things. For this tutorial series, we're going to assume that you want to learn about Unity and learn how to use VRChat objects to upload your own VRChat world. So you need to understand how to use Unity and understand how VRChat SDK works. So to get started, first make sure you have the following ready. First, make sure you have your very own VRChat account. You are required to have a VRChat account in order to upload to VRChat. In addition to that, make sure you at least played VRChat at least one time because they are requiring you to be what they call a new user in order to upload a world to VRChat. You do not need to play for more than 100 hours. You just need to be known as a user when it comes to the ranking. And I'll explain why in a moment. So as my Steam is getting ready and my Discord wants to open, I don't need it to open right now. You gotta understand that one simple cube will turn into a new world for you. And we're gonna learn about Unity UI as well, in addition to learning how to upload worlds. And it's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's get started. So what do you need? You need the following: a VRChat account, which you can make on hello.vrchat.com, log in, and you create your own account for VRChat. That is required. You are not allowed to use a Steam account to upload worlds, unfortunately. Make sure you have a VRChat account. Second, you must have at least played VRChat at least 30 minutes and favored at least one world. It does not matter what world it is. You just have to favor at least one world. So go to VRChat and Steam. This is only available, however, for Windows. However, I will also teach Unity as well for a beginner if you're learning how to start game development as well, because this also works into game development. So as you can see, this is VRChat on Steam. Go ahead and download that. You are required to have this for this tutorial. The older thing you need, besides a VRChat account, is you also need to learn about the download Unity. However, if you are using Unity for VRChat, you are required to use Unity 2019.4.40. The reason for that is because when we do the SDK, the VRChat SDK, you're gonna learn that the other versions of Unity do not work. You also need the Unity Hub and the Windows version of Unity. You need based on your own version of your Windows. If you are using a Mac, you can do that too. However, VRChat does not support Mac. However, we're going to use a plugin called Cyan EMU to test it as if you are in VRChat, even if you do not have VRChat. Okay, that's one thing we're going to learn about too. Okay, once you have Unity downloaded, if you are using this for VRChat creation, you need something called the VRChat creator. Creator Companion is what it's called. To get this, you need to go to hello.vrchat.com, log in your profile, and go to download. On the download page, you're gonna see this page. You're gonna see download VRChat. If you want to also do this for VRChat, download on Steam. If you are doing this for content creation, you have to press this button, download the Creator Companion. The Creator Companion looks like something like this. So we go back to here. This is what you're gonna get if you download the Creator Companion. Now keep in mind I have a lot of projects because I've been making VRChat World. But you're not gonna have a project at the start, obviously. To start making a project, go to create new project in the Creator Companion. You have three options when it comes to the Creator Companion. For those of you who are looking to upload for VRChat, you have Worlds, Avatars, and World Sharp. Worlds is your first starting point for today's tutorial. For this tutorial, Avatars we'll do another time. Worlds with the sharp Worlds use sharp is actually stands for Worlds with UdonSharp. It's a programming where you code the UdonSharp stuff. You do not need that for this tutorial series. What you do need is World. So select World, then name your project. Name your project something easy. And then your project location is the your C drive, your users, your username, app data, local, VRChat project. When you name your project and you select your project location, select create project. Then when you create your project, if you're using the Creator Companion, I'm going to go ahead and press the three dots here and manage project. You're going to see these things. If you are using the Creator Companion for VRChat stuff, you have the following options available to you. VRChat SDK World, VRChat Package Resolver Tool, VRChat SDK Base, Easy Quest Switch, which we can talk about later, VRChat World Toolkit, which we'll talk about later, UdonSharp, which we'll talk about later as well, VRChat Client Simulator. This is going to be required if you want to test it out with Cyan EMU. And AudioLink. AudioLink is for VRChat as well. I would, when you start at the same time, press the plus button on the following: Easy Quest Switch, VRChat Toolkit, UdonSharp, VRChat Client Simulator, and AudioLink. When you press those plus buttons, they will install it for you. And then you can actually select Open Project. I already have my project open for the Unity tutorial, which we'll get to in just a moment. Cyan EMU is a extension or an asset package that you can download on this GitHub. Cyan EMU allows you to test the world as if you're in VRChat. It's a client simulator as well. I will be linking you to this in the description below. To get your file, go to code, go to download zip if you are using a window. Okay? Download zip. When you download the zip file, it's going to say Cyan EMU master zip. Open that folder. When you open this folder, you're going to need to extract it with 7-zip or some type of file extractor. You're going to find the following. You're going to find the folder Cyan EMU, and you're going to see a lot of stuff here. Okay? You're going to need to extract it because you're going to need to put it into to the Unity if you don't have it already. Okay, so make sure you have this ready. I'm making sure that put it in the package. All of this is for the Cyan EMU. So we're gonna put this in here. Okay. So what you do when you extract it, copy the Cyan EMU folder, the master folder that is. When you copy this, I already extracted this. I am good. But extract it again. I'm gonna extract it again so that you can see what I'm doing. Go back to your creator companion. Go to the three dots. Go to open project folder. Go to packages. Yeah, we're gonna go to assets. You may have noticed that there are some assets in your folder already. When you extract a Cyan EMU, we're gonna copy and paste it in this. Now, when you go to your Unity, it should be importing as follows. Now, keep in mind it will take a little bit in order to import, so please be patient. Now, on the top left corner, you're gonna see that I have Cyan EMU settings, documentation, GitHub repository, Discord, Patreon, report a bug. Okay. Now I don't have my VRC scene descriptor because I have not put at that yet. We're gonna get into that shortly. I will be moving my Cyan EMU portion here. We'll talk about the user interface in a moment. Now that your Cyan EMU is ready, we can start learning Unity officially. Let's go today. We're gonna go over the interface for today. And then in our next lesson, which is going to be the big one, we're going to start actually playing around with Unity. So let's get started by creating a object. And we're going to start with our humble cube. When every world starts with a story about a humble cube. A cube so humble that all you have to do, pick a cube, is right click on your hierarchy and you go to create a 3D object. And this cube is waiting for you. And as you can see in the inspector, this cube has properties. We're going to take a look at a few for you today. This XYZ, if you remember in algebra, is your XY coordinate and your Z as well. Just because this humble cube, is a 3D object, we have 3 dimensions. And we also have a position 0, 0, 0. The 0, 0, 0 is the origin, ladies and gentlemen, as we can see here. If you upload it, if you made your way the, to the other stuff that we uploaded, you're going to see this, the window and the options. We're going to learn about assets in this tutorial, as well as game objects, components, World Toolkit if you're doing VRChat, VRChat SDK, jobs, and other stuff. This is how it works. Click on your humble cube, and we're going to take a look at the UI for Unity. As you can see, we have a few options available to our disposal. Right here, you can see that we have a few options. We have this hand that allows us to move the scene. We have this one, this one to move up and down, left and right. And we also have this rotation tool. Left, right, up, down, X, Y, Z. This is going to be helpful later on. Then we have our scale tool. We can make it bigger or we can make it smaller. This humble cube has some humble beginnings. Then we have this selection tool that allows us to scale it the way we want it to be. Oh, look, our cube is now tall. And we have this, the rotation tool combined with the move tool. Pretty neat. Then we have this available custom tools, including what we call a box collider. This box collider will be very important for certain objects in our tutorial series, where we're going to learn about colliders. Why are they needed to collide with other players? What is it usually for? To prevent players from going out of bounds and world. We have other stuff to play with too. As we can see, on the right side, we're going to take a look at the UI as for Unity itself. You can see that we have a few things here. On the right side, we have the inspector. The inspector allows us to manipulate our object further. For example, by default, these are called components. By default, you have a position, rotation, and scale under the transform component. This allows us to manipulate the X, Y, and Z of certain objects, including the position, rotation, and scale. Position is as straightforward as it is. If we go 0, 0, and 0, that is the origin, just like in algebra class. Rotation, if we go 0, 0, 0, it goes back to normal, a normal object. Then if we go to scale of 0, 0, if we go to scale at 1, 1, and 1, it goes back to normal. Now keep in mind, I did not say 0, 0, 0, and that's because if you go 0, 0, and 0, you officially get nothing. You get a 1, 1, and 1. We also have something called mesh. A mesh is part of the render for that object, and the default material is a default material. We're not going to get into materials today. We'll get into those puppies when we start building. Lighting. When we get into lighting, we're going to get into good stuff with lighting, but that's later on. You may have noticed that there is a box collider in addition to our cube. This allows us to collide with players. This cube prevents players from doing certain actions, including going out of bounds. Yes, out of bounds. And I think watch the VR chat live stream. We have been going out of bounds recently, so this prevents that. Okay, and we have components to add. We're going to take a look at these components later on, including the box collider, which we do not need another one. I did not mean to do that. I'm going to remove component. But we also will have the VRC pickup. And you're going to see that it adds components along with the pickup script. And that component is called the rigid body, which we'll talk about more later. The VRC pickup script allows us to pick up objects in VRChat. But we'll go over that when we get into pickupable. We're going to remove our components for now. We're going to stick with the box collider. You may have noticed I have selected Windows here, and that is because we have Windows to play with. But before that, we need to talk about packages. You may have noticed I have a lot of packages to start with. That is because I have downloaded these from our favorite marketplace, the Unity Asset Store. And that, my friends, is here. Selected articles, selected things are free on the Unity Asset Store, including assets, materials, models, and a lot of cool stuff. For example, if I'm looking for a wood wall or a material of wood, you're going to notice that we have a lot of assets to play with, and free assets is one of the options. And we're going to be using our favorite marketplace, the Unity Asset Store, when we get further into our tutorial series. But this is just a little taste of what is to come in our tutorial series for this particular series, the Unity Asset Store. Also in the UI of the Windows, we have the VRChat SDK. If you have your VRChat account ready, make sure to have it ready for a few more tutorials because we're going to need that in order to test and build our first taste of VRChat World. World Debugger allows us to debug the world, see what's wrong with the world. Now keep in mind that you already have we already have an error because there is no scene descriptor. And to do that, we need to add go to our project, our hierarchy here in this area. We have our project tab. Go to the search bar, and if you're using the VR Chat edition, go to VRC World. We're gonna set that for all. You may have noticed that this is a object. We're gonna drag and drop our VRC world, and we're going to see this have a square. What we want to do is go to our inspector, if it wants to. We're going to position this VRC world object to 0, 0, 0, and 0. You can see that it is in the origin. I'm going to use my green arrow to move it up a little bit so that you can see this box move this way. We're going to save it, Control S, save. Do not touch any of the other options, however. We're going now to the VRChat, the SDK, and to open these windows, go to Window, Windows, and you're going to see these particular windows, including Board Debugger, VRChat SDK, Udon Graph, Scene, Project Map, Project Manager, Package Manager, Hierarchy, Inspector, and all this other stuff. We're going to go over this later. So when you log in, you can actually build. You must have a VRChat account to build. Otherwise, it will not let you build unless you have CyanEmu. Okay? So let's see if there's any errors. Now, right now, this is not going to help us much because there's no occlusion calling yet. We're not going to learn about that for a while. So let's go ahead and see by pressing this play button, what do we get? We're going to play, and if you have the VRChat simulator, you see what this is saying. As you can see, this is going to be your VRChat um, Client Simulator. As you can see here, I'm going to close my menu. Now, right now, it's not solid ground, but this is working. I'm going to press accept. if I could. I'm gonna go settings. I'm gonna stop the play here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to change it. I'm gonna change this cube into a plane. So right click on your hierarchy, go to 3D object, go to plane. And then we're going to adjust the plane. We're going to adjust VRC world. Go up here. This plane should already have a collider. And yes, it does. A mesh collider. This should allow us to land. We're going to see if we can land with Cyan EMU. And as you can see, we have landed. We're going to close the menu. Now, Cyan EMU here is going to lag a little bit, but this is going to simulate your chat. Unfortunately, it is lagging a lot. But this is how it's going to look like in VRChat when you play it. We're going to go ahead and stop the play though, because we're going to make it more interesting in our next tutorial. So next time, we're actually going to manipulate objects. We're going to start learning about materials, and we're going to learn about a new tool called Pro Builder. That's going to be important because we're going to learn about Pro Builder. Okay, and then we're going to learn more about Cyan EMU. So this was a look at everything. Okay, that's all for now. We'll see you in our next tutorial where we talk about manipulating objects, Pro Builder, and a lot more. Enjoy. We'll see you guys next time.